The Nintendo Switch is 7 years old. I was 14 when this console came out, and we're still using it to this day. We've got great titles. We've got Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Odyssey, and plenty others for us to play. But we've got plenty of rumors of what's about to come out, and I wanted to rank my top 10 most wants out of this next generation of Nintendo consoles. What qualifications do I have to say what Nintendo should do? None, obviously. 21-year-old Australian playing Nintendo games still. But, you know, everyone's allowed their opinion, so I'm going to be voicing mine, and hopefully you agree. Let me know. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think the next console should have. If you've got any other suggestions to what I've got. First off, it has to remain hybrid. It has to have that docking and handheld capability. I don't think we could go back to two individual systems from Nintendo again after how well the Switch has been able to seamlessly swap between a home console and a on-the-go console. Even if that means bringing out a Switch 2 Lite, like they've brought out a smaller, less powerful version almost, just exclusively for handheld mode. But the base model, minimum, should have that hybrid mode. Second is cross and backwards support of the existing Nintendo Switch controllers. If you're like me, you got a number of Pro controllers and Joy-Cons laying about your house. And with the amount of money they get us to pay for these ones, especially the special edition and all of them, we should at least be able to continue using them. I don't see why not. Nintendo's been very good at being able to use old controllers from one generation to the next, especially with very similar hardware. We saw the Wii and Wii U, very similar consoles. The controllers worked the whole way through. We can still even use GameCube controllers on this current generation through adapters. So I don't see this being a problem, but it's definitely one of those up there that just make sure that this still happens. Third is a more economic design, something that's a bit easier to hold. I know a lot of people like the thinness of the Switch and how well it is to hold and get around with, but after a while my hands just hurt from playing it. It's too thin. I don't have a good grip on the controller, especially the Joy-Cons. Even when I'm using them by themselves, I find that it just doesn't work for me. Granted, I know I'm not like everyone else, but we've seen success with the Steam Deck as well as the ROG Ally, as well as plenty of other PC, Linux-based handheld consoles. So I think Nintendo should definitely go into that design a bit more, make it a bit more conformed to the hand, not only to help with long-term gaming sessions when you're in handheld mode, but just it gives more room when you have a slightly thicker design for better battery, better cooling. So these are all positives. Fourth is the inbuilt storage. Now the Switch only has, if you get the base model, 32, and the OLED has 64 gigs. And for most Nintendo titles, that's not an issue. But we've seen with some of these higher end titles, especially Kingdom Hearts and a few others, they've had to run off a cloud server system just because there's not enough storage for you to put the whole game on the console. And I can already hear you typing, well, Patrick, you can just buy a micro SD card and get that running on it. Well, yes, but I've already spent $300-$400 on this console. Why should I have to go spend another $30-$40 just to play the games that I also had to buy? So I think if they're targeting what's rumored to be targeting spec-wise, looking at that Xbox One PS4 level performance, we should be expecting these games to be taking up Xbox One PS4 level storage. And for that, I think we need minimum at least 128 gig. Yes, that's not a whole lot considering the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series S come with up to like a terabyte on the base model. But at least that a little bit more should help starting off, and then we can expand. There can be different versions. The higher model, it could be a 128 gig and a 256 gig, or make it easily swappable, very similar to the Steam Deck, where you can just add more storage, but make it more high capacity SSD storage even. Number 5, and I think this should have been on the Switch long ago. It annoys me that it never got added, and I would be surprised if it got added now at the end of the Switch's life cycle, is adding themes. We've gone 7 years worth of themes tab, and we can only pick basic black and basic white. Like, they teed it up here like they were planning on having this. The 3DS had themes. You can make a custom background. You can do all these things. I don't know why they never brought this to the Switch. Maybe there was some other reason. They kind of teased it by adding folders, but then it was hidden away right at the back. You couldn't just make it to your home menu. So definitely themes and customizability of the software, just to make it a bit more personal. You've got the controllers and all of that, but that's definitely one thing they have to add. At minimum, it has to be at launch. I don't see why that would be such a difficult thing, just to be able to change a background on the Switch or the Switch 2. Next is the console price. I think Nintendo's in a very good position here to do well for sales, and they've done really well for sales with the Switch because the Switch is a very cheap alternative for a console compared to the PlayStation and Xbox. And down here in Australia, a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X, you're looking at spending $700-800 for these consoles. If the performance isn't going to be there, I don't think they can justify asking that price. And they've never really been one to demand a high price for a lower tier product. I'm just going to jump in here and add to that. When I say lower quality or tier product, I don't mean, obviously, there's no excuse for a bad product. We've had issues with the Joy-Cons, with the drifting and all of that. What I mean is the performance is lower on these consoles, so they can justify a lower price. But yeah, just jump in to say that. And now back to me rambling on. But they should at least keep the price similar. If they want this next console to sell, they're going to have it very similar priced to the existing Switch consoles that are on the shelves today. Next, and this is more of a quality of life, is being able to import all of the saves and data that you have from your existing Switch onto this console. It's rumored that the new console, the Switch 2, whatever you want to call it, is going to be backwards compatible with existing Switch games. So I think the best way for this would be just being able to import it on the setup if you've got both consoles there, just to be able to move everything across. Now, I know there's the online service where you've got your cloud backups and you can pull them down, but a lot of people don't pay for online. So you're hiding that ability to easily go to the next console behind a paywall. And I think that would just rub people the wrong way if they're stuck having to restart all their games, especially big games like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, games that take hours and hours to get any progress. I haven't even gotten 20% in Breath of the Wild after all these years of playing it. So I think it just seems fair that there should be an easy way to move the data across from the old system to the new one. Number 8 is the screen size. Now, at the start, I don't think many of us realized the size of the screen of the Switch was a huge issue. Obviously, it was a little small, but it worked well. There was nothing to compare it against. I have been daily driving an OLED Switch since launch. I tried to use a mate's regular one the other day, and it was a nightmare. It's a much smaller screen. I can't go back to that same size screen. That's me personally. I do spend most of the time with it docked, but those few times I am using it handheld, having that slightly larger screen that just fills out the whole body even, is really good. So even if it's not an OLED screen like the OLED Switch, just having that screen size a bit bigger to fill out the console, to make it larger, is certainly a quality of life thing that needs to come included with this next console. Number 9 is every Nintendo console has a gimmick. You got the Wii with the motion controls. We had the sort of HD Rumble with the Joy-Cons, and they were able to detach and all of that. But I think the downside to the Switch in what it had was the tech demo game that came with it. Well, it didn't even come with it, the 1-2 Switch. The new console, if they want to show the capabilities of the Switch, and even if they charge more out of the box for it, include a game with the Switch. Include, even if it has to be a short game, doesn't matter. Look how well Wii Sports is a cult classic, and it was sold alongside the Wii. It was sold with the Wii. 90% of the Wii sold came with Wii Sports, and that definitely, one, counted for how popular the game became ultimately, and two, it introduced all these motion controls and how it works right out of the box. You didn't have to go, oh, here's a game, I've already spent $300-400 on this console, I have to spend another $60 on a game for a gimmick that I might not even like. So including a game out of the box, even if it's small, is definitely one of those things that would be really nice to see when the new console launches. And finally, this is a sort of pattern I've noticed with Nintendo consoles. You have a good console and then a bad, and it keeps swapping between. You had the NES, which was really good. It basically kept the video game scene alive. It established everything we have to this day. But every generation, it's been a good console with the NES. The SNES was a good console, but didn't do too well. And it's gone from there. You had the Wii, great console, best console. Then the Wii U, flopped. Number of reasons. We've come back with the Switch, really good console. I just hope this new console lives up to the expectations. And if we can go on the expectations of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, I love this example. It's a really good game, like one of my favorite games in general, not just as a Legend of Zelda game, but overall. They kept that consistency and that quality from the first and second game. There's plenty of games we've seen the second game just tries to ride off the success of the first one. It doesn't really work, but if they're able to keep that quality like we're seeing in the game development portion, I've got good hope. So that's my last one. I just want this console to be good. So whenever Nintendo finally decides to announce it, well, we'll just have to wait and see. I'll try to be live when the Direct happens, whenever it should be. There's rumors that it's going to be happening in the next week or so. So I guess we'll see you all then. Cheers.